Welcome to the Deep Dive. Imagine a reality so vast, so incredibly complex, that its very structure isn't just a backdrop, but a dynamic story in itself.
Yeah.
We're talking about worlds nested within worlds, planes forged from pure belief, and, cataclysmic events that literally rip apart and reshape the cosmos.
Right.
Today, we're embarking on an epic journey, a deep dive into the chronological history of the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse.
It's truly a masterclass in meta-narrative, actually. It's fascinating how the designers crafted such a flexible structure. It not only contains countless distinct worlds, but also evolves with the game itself, often using these devastating in-world events to justify, changes in gameplay mechanics.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to take you on this journey through D&D's foundational lore. We'll go from the grand cosmic order right down to the minute-by-minute chaos of a world-ending war.
Okay.
We've distilled knowledge from, definitive chronologies, historical accounts, and deep dives into specific world-shaping events. This isn't just going to be a dry timeline.
No, definitely not.
It's an exploration of how reality itself, its magic, its very gods, have been shaped and reshaped over decades of storytelling. This deep dive should give you a shortcut to understanding a truly vast and captivating lore, hopefully with plenty of aha moments and surprising facts along the way.
Right. So to truly grasp the countless histories within the D&D multiverse, we really have to start with the cosmic structure that defines them.
Absolutely.
The relationships between dimensions, the fundamental laws of magic and belief, even the very nature of reality. They're all laid out by this foundational framework.
And it's not just a passive backdrop, like you said. It's an active participant in history, governing everything from, divine interventions to the fundamental forces of creation itself.
So where do we begin with that framework?
Well, the most widely accepted, and you could argue the most grand and ordered system, is known as the Great Wheel cosmology.
The Great Wheel. Yep.
Think of it as the standard model for how everything fits together in the multiverse. It's this vast, intricate system of planes, and each one is its own distinct universe with unique physical and, importantly, spiritual laws.
Okay, so at the very heart of this immense structure, what do we find there?
That's where you find what's called the material plane. This is the nexus, the central point where all elemental and philosophical forces converge to create the worlds most familiar to mortals, places like, Toril, Earth, or Krynn.
The campaign settings, basically.
Exactly. And it's crucial to understand that this isn't one singular material plane. It contains countless parallel realities. You can almost imagine them existing within their own self-contained systems, like bubbles in a kind of cosmic foam.
Right. Infinite worlds. And flanking this central reality, you mentioned its echoes or mirrors.
Yes. These echoes provide a really foundational dichotomy for prime material worlds. On one side, there's the Feywild.
The Feywild.
It's a vibrant, chaotic reflection of the world's natural life and sort of positive emotional energy. Imagine stepping into a place where the sunlight literally sings, trees dance in perpetual revelry, and every shadow holds some kind of mischievous sprite.
Sounds intense.
It is. It's life, completely unbound and overflowing, where emotions manifest as tangible sensations and magic just hangs thick in the air.
And then the chilling mirror image.
The Shadowfell. Yeah. This is a desolate, gloomy reflection of the world's negative aspects and decay.
So the opposite.
Completely. Yeah. Colors are muted to shades of gray, hope struggles to exist, and joy feels like a distant, unattainable memory. These two planes establish this inherent balance, this tug-of-war between vibrant, often unpredictable life and creeping existential decay. It offers incredible thematic depth and, narrative possibilities for any adventure.
Okay, so material plane, Feywild, Shadowfell. Got it. What's beyond that?
Beyond the material plane and its echoes, you find the inner planes. Now, these are the literal building blocks of physical reality, realms of raw elemental matter and energy. Like the elements.
Exactly. You have the four primary elemental planes: air, earth, fire, and water. And these aren't just concepts. They are infinite realms of pure elemental force. They provide the fundamental essence of magic and physical laws.
Okay.
Alongside them are the positive and negative planes. These are the pure, unbridled sources of life energy and death energy, respectively.
Life and death itself. Wow.
Yeah. And this is where things get really dynamic. Where these primary elements collide, you get para-elemental planes.
Elemental.
Like the treacherous plane of ice, or the viscous plane of ooze, the scorching plane of magma, places where fundamental forces clash.
Sounds dangerous.
Very. And at the furthest, most untamed reaches of these inner planes, they dissolve into what's called the elemental chaos.
Elemental chaos. It's a roiling, primordial tempest of pure creation and destruction. Land, sea, sky are all in a perpetual state of violent flux. Imagine being in a plane of pure negative energy. It's this constant, inescapable drain on your very life force, an existential hunger threatening to consume your essence. It's a place of unbridled potential, yes, but also profound danger.
Okay, so that's the inner planes, the building blocks. What about the outer layer?
Then we move to the outermost layer of the Great Wheel, the outer planes. And what's truly remarkable here is that these aren't physical locations in the conventional sense.
How so?
They are realms of pure thought, belief, and ethos, the tangible manifestations of the alignments themselves. Their structure is more of a philosophical map than a geographic one. Proximity isn't about physical distance, but about ideological alignment.
So good planes are near other good planes.
Precisely. You can picture them arranged in a great ring of 16 planes. You have the upper planes of good, like the 7 heavens of Mount Celestia, bathed in divine light and ordered beneficence.
Sounds nice.
Directly opposite the lower planes of evil, such as the infinite, torturous layers of the abyss.
Less nice.
Definitely less nice. Likewise, the planes of law, exemplified by the clockwork perfection of Mechanus, with its perfectly synchronized gears and eternal order.
Clockwork nirvana.
Sort of. That stands against the planes of chaos, like the ever-shifting, unpredictable landscape of limbo where reality itself is fluid and defies logic.
So if you're, say, lawful good, you'd feel really out of place in limbo.
Exactly. If your alignment is antithetical to a plane, you don't just feel uncomfortable, you feel it profoundly. It's a palpable, often painful sense of dissonance as your very being is in conflict with the fabric of that reality. It's like trying to think chaotic thoughts in the heart of Mechanus, or vice versa. It just feels wrong.
And where do these all meet?
At the precise hub of this ring of ideologies lies the Outlands, a plane of true neutrality. It's a kind of cosmic crossroads from which natural gates lead to all other outer planes.
The ultimate neutral ground.
Pretty much. And floating atop the infinitely tall spire at the center of the Outlands is Sigil, the City of Doors.
Ah, Sigil. Planescape.
That's the one. This torus-shaped metropolis is truly the nexus of the multiverse. It contains portals to every conceivable reality, and it's ruled by the enigmatic Lady of Pain.
The Lady of Pain. She's the one who doesn't talk.
Right. Silent, incredibly powerful. She can bar even gods from entering her city, maintaining its singular neutrality. These outer planes are where belief itself manifests, shaping the afterlife and providing ultimate destinations for souls based on their moral and ethical leanings.
Okay, so inner planes are matter energy, outer planes are belief alignment. How do you get between them all?
That's where the transitive planes come in. Think of them as the multiversal highways.
Highways, okay.
First, there's the ethereal plane. It's a misty, fog-bound realm that borders the material plane and the inner planes. It serves as a shadowy conduit between them.
So you can, like, phase through walls.
Basically, yes. You can step into the ethereal, become semi-transparent, move through physical objects, then step back into the material. It's critical for stealth, planar exploration, that kind of thing.
Useful. And the other one?
And then you have the astral plane. This is a vast, silvery sea of thought and dream where time and distance hold little meaning. This connects the material plane directly to the outer planes.
So that's how souls get to the afterlife.
Primarily, yes. It's through the astral that the souls of the dead journey to their final destination. And it's also here that the Githyanki,
The psychic warriors.
right, the formidable psionic warriors, they built their entire empire upon the immense fossilized corpse of a dead god.
On a dead god. Seriously.
Seriously, it's a truly mind-bending concept that speaks to the sheer scale and, frankly, strangeness of the planes. These transitive planes are critical conduits for magic, for travel between disparate realms, and for the very journey of souls as they fulfill their cosmic destiny.
So what does this tell us about the D&D universe's design, then? It means it's not just a collection of isolated worlds. It's a deeply interconnected, philosophically structured cosmos,
Exactly.
where your very alignment can dictate your comfort, or even survival in a particular plane.
Yeah.
It's a design that's incredibly rich for truly impactful storytelling and immersive role-playing.
And while the Great Wheel is the dominant cosmological model, it's not the only one. The history of the multiverse is, actually, a history of multiple, sometimes contradictory, canonical realities. They're held together by this flexible metastructure that evolves with each new epoch. It's truly a multiverse of canons.
A multiverse of canons. I like that. So give me an example.
A great example is Eberron. It exists within its own distinct cosmology, and that was intentionally designed to be separate from the Great Wheel.
Okay, how's Eberron different?
Its reality is structured like an orrery, a mechanical model of the solar system.
Yep.
The material plane is at the center. The 13 other planes, everything from the celestial heights of Sarania to the maddening alien realm of Zoriat, aren't distant ideological concepts like the Great Wheel's outer planes. They are celestial bodies that physically orbit Eberron,
They orbit the planet.
like moons or planets, and their influence on the world and the types of magic available waxes and wanes as their orbits bring them closer or farther away.
So planar influence depends on orbital mechanics.
Pretty much. This specific design choice for Eberron allowed it to feel truly separate and unique. It created a different kind of magical and planar interaction, less philosophical, more astronomical. It allowed for this unique magical ebb and flow based on celestial mechanics, influencing everything from the power of divine spells to, say, when certain monsters might appear more frequently.
Interesting. And what about Spelljammer? That's another big one.
Right, Spelljammer. It's undergone its own evolution over the years. The older model envisioned each material plane setting, like Toril, Kryn, Earth, as a solar system encased within a giant, impenetrable crystal sphere.
Crystal spheres. I remember those.
And these spheres floated within a flammable, rainbow-hued medium known as the phlogiston. It was like a cosmic ocean, and ships literally sailed through it between these crystal spheres.
Sailing through space, but not space as we know it.
Exactly. Imagine magical ships sailing through this flammable void, breathing air within their spheres, then breaching the crystal shell into another system. Travel wasn't by plane shifting, but by physical space travel aboard these wondrous magical ships.
So how does that fit in now?
In the modern understanding, this concept has been largely integrated into the Great Wheel. The phlogiston has been replaced by the vast, endless expanse of the astral sea.
The astral.
And those crystal spheres are now understood as wild space systems, finite bubbles of material reality, each containing a solar system, floating within the infinite astral plane.
Okay, so they brought it into the main cosmology.
Yeah, it highlights the truly dynamic nature of D&D's cosmology. They adapt beloved older ideas into new, cohesive frameworks that still allow for that thrill of cosmic exploration, just slightly differently framed.
And this fluid framework, this multiverse of canons, it allows for infinite parallel worlds too, right? Even crossovers.
Definitely. It's porous. You can have infinite parallel worlds on the prime material plane, each with its own stories. It even accommodates crossovers with other game systems entirely. Settings like Eberron, as we discussed, or even the Planes of Magic, The Gathering, are explicitly their own multiverses, only loosely connected to the Great Wheel's grand design.
So how does a multiverse that can be so fluid, so open to reinterpretation, and even, let's be honest, retcons, maintain any sense of consistent history?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's less a single rigid narrative and more a collection of parallel narratives. Each has its own internal canon. But they're linked by this incredibly adaptable framework. It's really a testament to the long-term vision and flexibility of the game's design over decades.
Okay, so that's the structure. But you mentioned conflict. What about the Blood War? That sounds pretty fundamental.
Oh, it is. Raging across the lower planes is a conflict so vast, so ancient, it's considered a fundamental component of the cosmic order. The Blood War.
And this isn't good versus evil.
Not at all. That's the key thing. It's an eternal, grinding war of attrition between two diametrically opposed forms of evil.
Okay, who are the players?
On one side, you have the lawful tyrannical devils, or Batezu, from the Nine Hells. Their ultimate drive is to enslave and order all of reality, under their dominion, of course, through meticulously crafted pacts and hierarchies.
Lawful evil. Order through tyranny.
Exactly. On the other side, you have the chaotic, destructive demons, or Tanari, from the infinite layers of the abyss. Their urge is simply to corrupt and annihilate everything. Pure destruction, pure chaos.
Chaotic evil.
Right. The war is a physical manifestation of their philosophical incompatibility. It's a battle between rigid oppression and boundless destruction.
So where does this war actually happen?
The primary battleground for this endless conflict is Avernus, the first layer of the Nine Hells. Demonic horrors pour forth from the river Styx in a relentless, seemingly infinite tide.
This sounds like a stalemate.
It largely is, maintained by this fascinating balance of asymmetries. Demons have effectively infinite numbers as the abyss constantly spawns new fiends from its foul depths.
Infinite cannon fodder.
Pretty much. But they're disorganized, fractious, difficult to command. In contrast, the devils are a disciplined, brilliant, and rigidly hierarchical military force. Masters of strategy, masters of infernal pacts.
The fewer of them.
Their numbers are finite. And crucially, while a demon slain outside the abyss will eventually reform back in the abyss.
They respawn.
Right. A devil killed anywhere in the Nine Hells, including the brutal battlefields of Avernus, is permanently destroyed, gone for good.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is. This asymmetry creates a fascinating strategic dynamic. It forces devils to rely on cunning, long-term planning, and importantly, recruitment against the demon's sheer overwhelming numbers.
Recruitment. How do devils recruit?
That brings us to the multiversal implications. This conflict is far more than just background lore. It's the primary geopolitical and economic engine of the lower planes. The war's staggering consumption of resources, particularly mortal souls,
Souls.
actually drives fiendish interaction with mortal worlds. Devils, for instance, need a constant supply of mortal souls to promote into their ranks. They start as mindless lemurs, the lowest form of devil born from the souls of the damned.
So they need souls to make more devils.
Exactly. Both sides are perpetually seeking an edge, dispatching agents across the plains to secure powerful artifacts, recruit potent allies, or uncover secrets that could tip the balance. So that diabolical pact offered to a warlock. It isn't just about corruption, it's a cold, calculated recruitment effort for the war effort.
And a demon cult trying to open a gate.
That's not just spreading chaos, it's establishing a beachhead for a larger invasion force. It all ties back to the Blood War. Many planar sages, including the renowned archmage Mordenkainen, actually believe this eternal conflict is essential to the safety of the multiverse.
Wait, the war is good. How does that work?
And this is where it gets really thought-provoking. The idea that a war, a conflict of such unimaginable scale and brutality, is actually a good thing for the multiverse is truly mind-bending.
I'm struggling with that one.
The theory is that if either side, the tyrannical devils or the destructive demons, were to achieve a decisive victory, the victor would then turn its now unimaginable power upon the rest of creation,
Resulting in
universal subjugation under the devils or total annihilation under the demons. So the war keeps them busy fighting each other, preventing either from overwhelming everything else. It's a balance of terror, essentially.
a horrifying balance. It makes you wonder about the cosmic forces at play.
It really does.
Yeah.
So moving from that cosmic framework to the specific worlds, the present day of most D&G campaign settings is merely the latest chapter in histories stretching back millennia. These ancient epochs are marked by the rise and fall of godlike empires, world-shattering cataclysms, and foundational conflicts that establish the core themes and lingering threats of their modern eras.
Okay, let's start with the big one. Toril, the Forgotten Realms. What's its ancient history like?
Long before the first elves or dwarves built their kingdoms, Toril was dominated by what are known as the creator races during an era called the Days of Thunder. This was roughly 35,000 years before Dale Reckoning, the common calendar.
35,000 years.
Wow.
And these creator races?
They weren't just powerful civilizations, they were shapers of life itself. And their actions established a recurring theme of magical hubris that would echo throughout Toril's history.
Magical hubris sounds ominous. Who were they?
The most powerful were the reptilian Saruk. Their empire of Okoth was built on a mastery of arcane science that allowed them to magically create and alter other life forms.
They made races.
Yes. From their experiments, they spawned the scaled ones, including the Yuan-Ti, Naga, and lizard folk. This act of twisting life to suit their imperial ambitions is often presented as a kind of original sin for the world. It set a precedent for magical arrogance that would later be repeated by the Imaskari and, most disastrously, the Netherese. Other creator races included the amphibious Batrachi, progenitors of the Kuotoa, and the avian Eri who created the Aarakocra and Kinku.
So how did this era end?
It ended with an event called the Tearfall, around 31,000 DR. In a climactic battle during the Dawn War between the gods and the primordials, the elemental beings who shaped the cosmos, an ice moon was actually hurled at the planet.
They threw a moon at it.
They did. To prevent total annihilation, the overgod Ao.
Ao, the big boss god.
Right. He intervened, sundering the single world of Aber Toril into two twin planets, Toril for the gods and Aber for the primordials.
He split the planet in two.
Literally. This act separated the worlds for millennia, a separation that, as we'll see, would only be undone by a future catastrophe. Imagine cosmic intervention so powerful it literally splits a world in half.
Okay, so Toral's now separate. What happens next?
In the wake of the creator races, around 20,000 DR, the first great civilizations of the younger races began to emerge in an era known as the First Flowering. The elves and dwarves established vast kingdoms, but the history of the elves in particular is defined by self-inflicted catastrophes born from their immense magical power.
More hubris?
You could say that. The first major one was the First Sundering, roughly 17,600 DR. In an unparalleled display of magical might, elven high mages collaborated on a ritual intended to create a perfect homeland for their people.
Did it work?
It succeeded in raising the island continent of Evermeet from the sea, but the power involved was so great that it shattered the planet's single supercontinent, Meroboros.
It broke the continent.
Into pieces. It created Faerun, Mastika, and the great oceans that now separate them. This was a profound act of arrogance that literally reshaped the entire world, setting the stage for future tragedies.
What tragedies?
This act was followed by the devastating Crown Wars. These were a series of fratricidal elven civil wars that raged for 3 millennia, from about 13,000 DR to 10,000 DR.
3,000 years of civil war.
Terrible. It culminated in 2 major atrocities. First, the magical annihilation of the elven kingdom of Maeritar, which created the blasted wasteland known as the High Moor, a stark reminder of magical destruction.
And the second?
The corruption of the Dark Elves. Following the dictates of their dark goddess Lolth, these elves were transformed and banished into the subterranean depths of the Underdark. They became the Drow, the eternal bitter enemies of their surface kin.
So the elves created their own worst enemies.
Essentially, yes. The Crown Wars weren't a struggle against an external foe, but a self-inflicted wound. It set a pattern of immense power leading to both triumph and tragedy, influencing their later tendencies toward isolationism and melancholy.
Okay, after the elves, who rises?
The first great human empire to dominate Faerun was Netheril, which rose around 5,000 DR. After learning magic from the elves, the Netherese discovered the Nether Scrolls, ancient artifacts containing magical knowledge of unimaginable power.
Nether Scrolls. Sounds powerful.
Extremely. Their archwizards mastered this power, creating wonders like floating cities held aloft by potent methalors, immense magical power generators, and wielding magic that rivaled the gods.
Floating cities. But I sense a but coming.
There's always a but with this much power in Toril. The Empire's ambition was its undoing. In 339 DR, the archwizard Karsus, in an unprecedented act of hubris,
Here we go again.
cast a spell of his own design, the only 12th level spell ever created, to usurp the power of Mistral, the goddess of magic.
He tried to become the god of magic.
And for a fleeting moment, he succeeded. He became a god. But he was unable to control the raw magical force of the Wood, the universal structure that governs arcane magic.
Oh,
Magic across the world faltered and failed. It created a catastrophic magical dead zone. Imagine a single spell cast by one person that literally breaks magic across an entire world.
And brings an empire crashing down.
Exactly. To save reality from being unmade by Karsus's uncontrolled power, Mistral heroically sacrificed herself.
The goddess died.
She did. Her sacrifice severed Karsus from the weave, and in the process severed the flow of magic to the floating Netherese cities. They plummeted from the sky, shattering on the ground, ending the 3,000-year empire in a cataclysm.
That's Karsus's folly.
That's Karsus's folly. And it was more than just a historical event. It was a fundamental lesson in the laws of magic. Mistral was reborn as the first Mistra, and her first act was to implement new limitations on the Woof, banning mortals from ever again accessing magic of the 10th level or higher.
And that's the in-game reason for spell level limits.
Precisely. It serves as the in-universe justification for the mechanical limits placed on spellcasters in D&D. Every wizard who has lived since is bound by the consequences of Karsus's folly. It's the ultimate cautionary tale of mortal ambition versus cosmic law.
Okay, so Toral's theme is definitely magical hubris leading to disaster. How about other worlds? Do they have similar founding myths?
While Toral's ancient history was defined by that magical hubris, the foundational myths of other worlds established their own unique thematic underpinnings. Each has its own defining original sin or challenge, you could say.
Like Kryn from Dragonlance.
Right. On Kryn, the Age of Dreams was dominated by the High Ogres until their human slaves revolted. This era was also marked by the accidental release of the Grey Gem of Gargath.
The Grey Gem. What was that?
A magical artifact containing the essence of the god Chaos. As it roamed the world, its chaotic magic warped living beings, creating new races like the strong minotaurs and the tinker-obsessed gnomes.
Okay, Chaos unleashed. Then what?
The Age of Might followed, culminating in the rise of the theocratic empire of Istar. But the hubris of the last king priest, who grew so arrogant, he demanded the gods grant him power to eradicate all evil.
Sensing a pattern here.
Provoked the deities into casting a fiery mountain down upon the city. This was the cataclysm. It reshaped the continent and, more importantly, caused the true gods to withdraw from the world, taking knowledge of divine magic with them.
The gods left.
They did. This began the Age of Despair, a 300-year period of famine, plague, and profound faithlessness. So Kryn's original sin is humanity's arrogance leading to divine abandonment and an enduring struggle with faith. Heroism there is often about the rediscovery of belief itself.
Okay, so Kryn is about faith lost and found. What about Earth, Greyhawk's world?
On Earth, the defining ancient event was the mutual self-destruction of its two great human empires, the Baklunish and the Suluis. Their wars ended in 422 CY with the Twin Cataclysms.
Twin Cataclysms.
The Suluis mages of power unleashed the invoked devastation, a magical annihilation. The Baklunish priest mages retaliated with the rain of colorless fire, a devastating meteor shower.
They wipe each other out.
Pretty much. The two empires annihilated each other, creating vast wastelands like the Sea of Dust and the Dry Steppes. This forced the great migrations of their survivors, who went on to populate the continent of the Flannis. So Greyhawk's core theme is this legacy of ancient, irreconcilable hatreds and fragmented successor states, leading to a world defined by complex, often brutal geopolitics.
Ancient hatreds shaping the present. Got it. And Eberron.
Eberron's foundation is different again. The world was born from the cosmic battle of three progenitor worms, Cyberes, the celestial dragon, Eberron, the world itself, and Kyber, the demon beneath. Their struggle created the planes and the cryptic draconic prophecy.
Progenitor worms.
Okay.
What came next?
The first age was the Age of Demons, a time when fiendish overlords ruled a hellish landscape. This age ended not with a divine victory, but with the mass sacrifice of the celestial coatls, these feathered serpents of light.
A mass sacrifice.
They transformed themselves into the silver flame to bind the overlords deep within Kyber, the dragon below.
So the evil wasn't destroyed, just imprisoned.
Exactly, and that established Eberron's core theme. Ancient evils are imprisoned, not defeated. Their seals can weaken, leading to a world where threats from the past are always bubbling under the surface.
A world living on top of its monsters.
Sort of, yeah. The subsequent Age of Giants ended when they fought a devastating war with the dream spirits known as the Quarry. To win, the giants severed Eberron's connection to the plane of Dalcor, the plane of dreams. But the resulting magical backlash, amplified by wary dragons, destroyed their civilization.
Another cycle of destruction.
What emerges, if we connect this to the bigger picture, is how these foundational events are more than just backstory. They infuse each setting with its unique original sin or defining challenge. Toral's cycle of magical hubris, Kryn's struggle with lost faith, Greyhawk's ancient hatreds, Eberron's imprisoned evils. These aren't just historical footnotes. They shape the very nature of heroism and conflict within those worlds, giving each realm its distinct flavor.
Okay, let's move into the more quote-unquote modern eras. This is where we see the rise of nations we recognize, iconic heroes, these huge conflicts that often seem to coincide with new editions of the game, right?
Absolutely. In the Forgotten Realms, Toral's history after the fall of Netheril is one of slow recovery and the rise of new powers, but it's repeatedly punctuated by these divine crises that reshape the political and magical landscape.
So after Netheril fell, who took over?
For millennia, the Shield Dwarves became the dominant power in the north. Their great empire of Delzun, founded way back in 3900 DR, endured for nearly 4,000 years. They established famous strongholds like Citadel Adbar and their fabled capital, Gauntlgrim.
4,000 years is a good run. What about humans?
Human civilizations began to coalesce in the Western Heartlands. In 1DR, humans and the elves of Cormanthor signed the Dale's Compact, establishing the Dale Lands, and crucially marking the beginning of the Dale Reckoning calendar we still use.
1DR, the start of the timeline.
Right. In the centuries that followed, great kingdoms like Cormar were founded, and cities like Waterdeep grew from small settlements into major powers, setting the stage for the Forgotten Realms we know today.
But then things got messy again.
Things always get messy in the realms. Then came the Time of Troubles in 1358 DR, also known as the Avatar Crisis, or the Gods' War.
The Time of Troubles.
Yeah.
This was the big one for 1st to 2nd edition.
Exactly. It was a truly cataclysmic event that served as the in-universe explanation for that transition. It all began when the gods of death and tyranny, Merkle and Bane, stole the tablets of fate from the overgod Ao.
Stealing from the big boss. Bad idea.
Very bad idea. These divine artifacts recorded the name and portfolio of every deity, defining the cosmic balance. Ao was enraged not just by the theft, but by the gods' general neglect of their mortal worshippers.
So what did he do?
He cast nearly the entire Faerunian pantheon down to Toril, forced them into vulnerable mortal bodies known as avatars.
He kicked the gods out of heaven.
Pretty much. With their divinity stripped, their connection to their followers severed unless they were nearby, the gods were truly vulnerable. Imagine omnipotent beings, usually remote and all-powerful, walking among mortals, susceptible to mortal weapons and magic. Absolute chaos. And arcane magic, no longer regulated by its divine steward, became dangerously erratic. It was a time of unprecedented divine vulnerability.
So who fixed it? Mortals.
The crisis revolved around a band of mortal adventurers, the fighter Kelemvor, the mage Midnight, the cleric Idon, and the thief Cyric, who became entangled in the gods' quest to recover the tablets and return to the heavens.
So mortals had to save the gods.
In a way, the year was marked by divine chaos and death. Mystra, the goddess of magic, was destroyed when she tried to force her way past the divine sentinel helm, whom Ao had charged with guarding the path back to the outer planes.
Mystra died again.
Well, the first Mystra died saving reality from Karsus. This was the second Mystra. And the dead Threepal, god of murder, Merkle, god of the dead, and Bane, god of tyranny, were annihilated. Their portfolios were absorbed or passed on in a flurry of divine reshuffling.
A lot of divine turnover. How did it end?
The crisis ended when Midnight and Cyric returned the recovered tablets of fate to Ao atop Mount Waterdeep. Ao rewarded the mortals by elevating them to godhood.
Mortals became gods.
Yes. Midnight became the new Mystra, the third one goddess of magic. Cyric became the god of strife, lies, and murder, inheriting the portfolios of the dead three. But before restoring the rest of the pantheon, Aho decreed a fundamental change.
What a change?
He destroyed the tablets of fate, declared that henceforth a deity's power would be directly proportional to the number and faith of their mortal worshippers.
Whoa! So gods need believers to be powerful.
Exactly. This act permanently altered the relationship between gods and mortals. No longer aloof and inherently powerful, the gods became dependent on faith for their very existence. This change would drive their often desperate interventions in the world forever after.
And it explains game mechanics, too.
Precisely. It provided a brilliant in-universe justification for game mechanics, where a cleric's power or a god's direct intervention could be tied to their active worshippers.
Okay, so the Time of Troubles fundamentally rewrote the rules of divinity, making faith a tangible currency for gods. That's a clever way to handle an edition change.
It was, and just as the Time of Troubles explained the shift to 2nd edition, the Spell Plague was the in-universe cataclysm that reshaped the Forgotten Realms for the starkly different mechanics and cosmology of 4th edition.
The Spell Plague. 1385 DR. What happened there?
This time, the mad god Cyric, aided by Shar, goddess of darkness, succeeded in murdering the new Mystra, the third one, in her celestial realm.
They killed the goddess of magic again.
Third time's the charm. With the goddess of magic dead, the weave didn't just falter like with Karsus, it violently collapsed. Raw magic erupted across the cosmos in waves of destructive blue fire. This was the Spell Plague.
And blue fire. Sounds bad.
The consequences were far more radical and widespread than the Time of Troubles. Thousands of spellcasters were killed or driven insane. The landscape of Faerun was shattered. The southern nation of Halrua, a land of archwizards, just detonated. Magical apocalypse. The sea of fallen stars partially drained into a massive new chasm leading to the Underdark. Chunks of land were torn from the ground to become floating earth moats. Imagine cities being torn from the ground, vast seas disappearing into chasms.
Total devastation.
And the Spell Plague also tore at the barriers between worlds. Toril's long-lost twin, a bear.
The primordial world Ao created.
That's the one. It crashed back into reality. Portions of the two worlds physically swapped places. This brought new continents and nations to Faerun, like the Dragonborn Empire of Tymantor, and canonically explained the appearance of the Dragonborn race on Toril.
So that's where Dragonborn came from in the realm.
That's the 4E explanation, yes. The Great Wheel cosmology was temporarily supplanted by the world axis model of 4th edition, simplifying the cosmos. Living creatures caught in the blue flames were often killed, but some were hideously transformed into monsters called the Plague Changed, or developed magical spell scars, strange, unpredictable magical abilities burned into their very bodies.
So this was a deliberate reset for 4th edition.
Absolutely. It was a deliberate and frankly controversial cosmological reset designed to align the setting with the points of light philosophy of 4th edition. That favored a world with fewer large empires and more wild, unexplored frontiers filled with mystery and danger.
Make it more adventurous, less civilized.
Right. By destroying or isolating established nations and introducing vast, magically scarred wastelands, the spell plague forcibly transformed the high magic, well-documented world of the Forgotten Realms into this new paradigm.
That raises an important question, though. When your lore is so deeply intertwined with game mechanics, how do you handle major rule changes like that? The spell plague is a dramatic example of using in-world apocalypse as justification.
But it certainly sparked intense debate among the fan base who had grown attached to the previous iteration of the realms. It's a tricky balance.
So after the spell plague reset things for 4E, what happened for 5th edition? Another cataclysm.
Sort of, but different. A century after the spell plague, another world-altering event occurred, this time to transition the setting to 5th edition. The Second Sundering, from 1484 to 1489 DR. This served more as a narrative retcon engine.
Rexon engine.
Yeah, it selectively reversed many of the most unpopular changes of the Spell Plague era while preserving certain popular additions like the Dragonborn. It aimed for a balance between continuity and a fresh start.
Who was behind this one? AO again.
It was orchestrated by Ao, yes. He set in motion the process of once again separating the worlds of Aber and Toril and rewriting the Tablets of Fate again to establish a new cosmic order.
Rewriting the rules again? How did this play out?
Aware that their power and portfolios were in flux, the gods, including many thought to be dead-empowered mortal agents known as the Chosen to act on their behalf, gathering worshippers and influence before the new status quo was finalized. The story is told across the Sundering series of novels, following various chosen and iconic heroes through the unfolding chaos.
Some mortals were key players again. Any major events?
Some truly epic moments. There was the miraculous reincarnation of the companions of the Hallbrunner, Catti-brie, and Regis by the goddess Mielikki to save the life of Drizzt Do'Urden.
Drizzt's friends came back.
They did. We also witnessed a crucial conflict between the Chosen of Shar, Mask, and Amon-Eater, which resulted in the full restoration of Mask, the god of thieves, to his divine power. And in a dramatic finale, the returned Netherese Empire met its final destruction.
Netheril was back.
Briefly, their floating capital city of Soltanthar was brought crashing down upon the ancient elven city of Myth-Drannor, bringing a definitive end to that old, prideful empire.
Okay, so what was the end result of the Second Sundering?
By the end, the world was profoundly changed yet again, though this time it was largely a restoration. Aber and Toril were separated once more, the geographical chaos of the spell plague was largely smoothed over, the Great Wheel cosmology was reestablished.
Back to the Great Wheel.
And most significantly, many deities who had died in previous crises, including Baal, Merkul, the Third Mistra, Helm, and Lathander, were restored to life and power, setting the stage for the 5th edition pantheon.
The Dead Three came back too.
They did. Finally, Ao decreed that the gods should once again withdraw from direct and overt intervention in the world, ushering in an age of mortals. This created the 5th edition status quo, pushing the gods back into the background and shifting the narrative focus onto mortal heroes.
So the post-Sundering era, from about 1489 DR onwards, that's the current 5e setting.
That's right. It's the vibrant setting for the official 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons adventures. It's a world in a state of cautious recovery where old threats are reemerging and new opportunities for heroism are constantly arising.
Like the adventures we play now.
Exactly. Some of the earliest 5e adventures see the emergence of ancient evils, like demon lords rising from the Underdark in Out of the Abyss around 1485 DR, or the Cult of the Dragon attempting to bring Tiamat back from the Nine Hells in Horde of the Dragon Queen, and Rise of Tiamat around 1489 DR.
And later ones.
Later adventures around 1491, 1492 DR delve into things like Lost Mine of Fandolver, Princes of the Apocalypse, Curse of Strahd, though Strahd's domain is technically timeless, Waterdeep, Dragon Heist, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Candlekeep Mysteries. There's a bit of a timeline snag with Baldur's Gate, Descent into Avernus, and the Baldur's Gate the Third game. Officially, Descent into Avernus, where Elturel gets dragged into Hell, is set around 1492 DR, as is Baldur's Gate the Third. But there are some internal contradictions, maybe pushing BG3 slightly later, like 1494 DR. The current consensus leans towards 1492 DR for both, but it's a bit fuzzy.
Always fun with timelines.
What's fascinating here is how the designers use these events to continuously refresh the world, keeping it dynamic and providing new narrative hooks. Even godhood isn't a permanent state in the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, looking at the Divine Scorecard, Bane, Paul, Murgle died, came back. Mistra died 3 times, came back 3 times. Helm died, came back. And Torm died fighting Bane, came back. Lathander became a man-eater, maybe came back as Lathander. Mask lost power, got it back. Cyric went from mortal to god, now kind of mad and weakened.
It's a truly complex divine dance, where no divine being is truly safe from the tides of cosmic change. It keeps things interesting.
To really see how these huge events impact individuals, we can look through the lens of one of D&D's most iconic heroes, Drizzt Do'Urden. His personal timeline spans this whole tumultuous modern period.
Exactly. He acts as a personal thread through the fabric of cosmic chaos. Born in the drow city of Menzoberranzan in 1297 DR, he famously forsakes Lolth and escapes the Underdark in 1328 DR after years of moral conflict.
The classic origin story.
His journey to the surface, being mentored by Montolio, eventually finding family with the companions of the Hall in Icewind Dale around 1351-1356 DR. That's all chronicled in the early trilogies, like the Icewind Dale trilogy where they defeat a Carcassel.
And he was around for the big events.
Oh, yes. In 1356 DR, they reclaim Mithril Hall. Then, crucially, in 1358 DR, Drizzt and his friends are instrumental in defending Mithril Hall during the time of troubles. That puts his story right in the heart of that world-shattering event as gods walk the earth.
Wow, he fought during the Gods' War. What about the Spell Plague?
He faced the chaos of the Spell Plague in 1385 DR, witnessing its devastating effects firsthand and enduring personal tragedy as his loved ones, Catti-brie and Regis, died in the aftermath, as told in The Ghost King.
So he lost them then, but you said they came back.
Decades later, yes. Drizzt played a pivotal role in the Second Sundering from 1462 to 1484 DR. His goddess, Miliki, orchestrated the miraculous reincarnation of his closest friends, Bruenor, Catti-brie, and Regis, allowing the Companions of the Hall to reunite. This is covered in the Companions novel, kicking off the Sundering series.
So the whole gang got back together for 5e.
Pretty much. From 1484 DR to the present, the reunited Companions continue their adventures in the New Age of Mortals, as seen in series like the Companions Codex and Homecoming. Drizzt's story isn't just about one hero, it's a personal journey through the cosmic upheavals of his world. It allows us, the readers and players, to connect with these macro events on a deeply human or, well, drow scale. His enduring presence really anchors the broader narrative of the realms.
Okay, let's shift gears. Moving from Toril, the world of Krynn, Dragonlance, is defined differently, right? More by the god's influence or lack thereof.
Exactly. Krynn's history is marked by these cycles of divine presence and divine absence. The pivotal event here is the Cataclysm.
The fiery mountain.
Right. 3 centuries before the War of the Lance, the king priest of Istar, head of a global theocracy, grew so arrogant he demanded the gods grant him power to destroy all evil. In response, the gods cast a fiery mountain from the heavens, destroying Istar, reshaping the continent of Ansalon, and plunging the world into chaos.
And the gods left.
Believing mortals had failed them, the true gods of good and neutrality withdrew, taking knowledge of divine magic with them. This began the Age of Despair, 300 years of famine, plague, and profound faithlessness. This event is the central trauma of Krynn, shaping its people's relationship with divinity and magic.
So the War of the Lance was about bringing them back.
It chronicles the dramatic return of both the gods and the dragons to Krynn, yes. The conflict, from 348 to 352 AC, after Cataclysm, was instigated by Takhisis, the Queen of Darkness.
Tiamat, basically.
Krynn's Tiamat, yes. She discovered a way to circumvent her divine banishment and, working through her agents, established the dragon armies. 5 massive legions led by powerful mortals known as Dragon High Lords.
And they had dragons.
Bolstered by evil chromatic dragons who had returned, and a new race of shock troops called Draconians, created by magically corrupting the eggs of good metallic dragons. The war began in 348 AC with the dragon armies sweeping across Ansalon, conquering nation after nation. Hope seemed lost.
Until the Heroes of the Lance showed up.
Until a group of old friends, who would become known as the Heroes of the Lance, reunited in their hometown of Solus. You know the group. Tanis Half-Elven, Sturm Brightblade, Caramon and Raceland Magere, Flint Fireforge, Tasselhoff Burfoot.
The classic party.
Their journey began when they encountered the barbarian princess Goldmoon carrying the blue crystal staff. This proved to be an artifact of the lost goddess Mishakal, channeling her healing magic.
the first sign of the true gods returning.
Exactly. This discovery set them on a quest. They journeyed to the ruined city of Zaxaroth and recovered the sacred discs of Mishakal holy texts that restored the knowledge of the true gods of good to the world. This allowed for the return of divine clerical magic, a crucial turning point against Takhisis. You can really contrast the initial despair of Kryn with that flickering, fragile hope brought by the return of healing and divine power after centuries.
So they had hope and clerics. How did they fight dragons?
Their journey took them across the war-torn continent. They liberated slave mines, dealt with elven nightmares, forged alliances. A pivotal moment came with the rediscovery of the legendary dragon lances.
Ah, the titular weapons.
The only weapons capable of easily slaying dragons. Armed with these lances, the Knights of Solamnia and their allies turned the tide at the critical battle of the High Clerist's Tower. It was victory, but it cost Sturm Brightblade his life. Still, it shattered the dragon army advance. Imagine the sheer power of those lances in battle and the sacrifice made there. It was a turning point, militarily and spiritually.
How did the war finally end?
It culminated in a final confrontation in Naraka, the heart of Takhisis' power on Kryn. The heroes managed to close the portal through which the Dark Queen was trying to enter the world, banishing her once more. The dragon armies collapsed into infighting, ending the war.
And those armies were tough.
Oh, yeah. Each dragon army was distinct. The Red, under commanders like Ariakas, used red dragons and Capac Draconians in the east. Kitiara's Blue Dragon army focused on naval power in the west, using blue dragons, swift Seavac Draconians, and skilled minotaurs. Others relied on huge numbers of goblins and ogres or cunning human commanders like Verminard. They were a truly terrifying, multifaceted threat.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The War of the Lance isn't just a fantasy war. It's a story of prophecy, sacrifice, and the rediscovery of faith in a world that thought its gods had abandoned it forever.
Absolutely. It shows how profoundly belief, or the lack thereof, can shape a world and its destiny.
Okay, turning to Earth, Greyhawk's world. You said its theme was ancient hatreds. How did that play out in its more modern history?
Well, after the migrations caused by the twin cataclysms, the Iridian tribe of the Irdi established the Great Kingdom in the east. In 1 CY, Common Year, it declared universal peace, creating a vast empire that dominated the Flaness for centuries.
Another golden age.
It was, for a while. But by the 4th century CY, it entered a serious decline. The ruling house became decadent, corrupt, eventually falling under fiendish sway. Outer provinces like Furiondi and Nairon broke away, often violently. By the late 6th century, the Great Kingdom was a shadow of its former self, a malevolent, unstable power ruled by the mad, undead Overking Ivid V.
An undead mad king.
Yeah.
Lovely.
This long decline set up the fragmented political landscape that defines Greyhawk ancient grudges, shifting alliances dictating the fate of nations.
And this led to the Greyhawk Wars.
The simmering tensions finally erupted into open, continent-spanning conflict in 582 CY, the Greyhawk Wars. These weren't a single conflict, but interlocking wars, instigated by several major evil powers acting together. This event updated the setting for 2nd edition AD&D, making it much grimmer, more war-torn.
Who were the main troublemakers?
There were 3 primary instigators. In the north, the powerful demigod Isis the Evil consolidated his power and, allied with the Horn Society and humanoid tribes, launched a massive invasion south into the Shield Lands and Furiondi.
Okay, Isis the Evil. Sounds straightforward.
In the east, the mad Overking Ivid V of the Great Kingdom launched a desperate campaign of reconquest against the lands of the Iron League and the rival kingdom of Nyrond,
Trying to reclaim lost glory.
And in the south, the Scarlet Brotherhood emerged. A secretive, xenophobic monastic order. They used a terrifying blend of assassination, infiltration, and clever diplomacy to swiftly topple the governments of the Iron League states and the hold of the Sea Princes, establishing a brutal new empire built on shadowy control.
So, open war in the north, insidious coups in the south.
Exactly. It showed different facets of conflict. The wars raged for 2 years, devastating the continent. The Shield Lands were overrun. Furiondi and Nyrond were bled white. The Orcish Empire of the Pomarge invaded the Ulic states.
How did it end?
It only ended in 584 CY when a grand coalition, brokered in the free city of Greyhawk, managed to halt the advances. The Pact of Greyhawk ended major hostilities, but it left the Flanaes shattered, balkanized. Many nations were occupied, destroyed, or under new evil masters.
So the wars really broke the setting.
They did. It shifted the narrative tone of D&D for Greyhawk away from simple dungeon crawls towards complex geopolitics, morally ambiguous factions, and the brutal consequences of war. It reflected that grittier fantasy trend of the 90s.
This raises an important question then. How does a game world recover from such widespread devastation? And what kind of stories does that environment foster?
Greyhawk leans into it. It forces players to navigate a world that is truly broken, where heroes often have to make difficult choices without clear answers, and the scars of conflict run deep. It's about dealing with the aftermath.
Okay, now for Eberron. Its history seems more about innovation and intrigue, right? Especially leading up to its big event.
Very much so. Eberron's history is one of pulp action and magi-tech innovation, defined by a long, brutal war that was ended not by victory, but by an inexplicable magical catastrophe.
Let's start before the war. Was there a golden age?
Yes, for nearly 900 years, the continent of Corvair knew relative peace under the United Kingdom of Galifar. Established in 1 YK, Year of the Kingdom, Galifar comprised 5 great provinces, which became the 5 nations: Aundair, Breland, Sire, Carnath, and Thrain.
The 5 nations. And the Dragonmark houses were part of this.
They rose to prominence during this long peace. These continent-spanning guilds, built around families with hereditary magical marks granting specific abilities, controlled entire sectors of the economy. House Orion for transportation, House Civis for communication, House Kundarak for banking, House Deneth for defense. They were incredibly powerful. This golden age really sets the stage for the dramatic fall that follows.
How did it fall apart?
Violently. In 894 YK, King Geralt died, but his 5 children, each ruling one of the 5 nations, refused to honor the tradition of succession. Princess Michonne of Sire was the rightful heir, but her siblings refused her claim. Each declared their own nation sovereign and themselves the true ruler.
So sibling rivalry started a war.
A century-long civil war engulfing Corvair. The last war.
100 years. What was it like?
A grinding conflict. Shifting alliances, brutal trench warfare, politically reminiscent of post-WW Europe. But it was also a crucible of magical innovation.
What?
House Cannith, the House of Making, developed sentient constructs called Warforged to serve as tireless soldiers. House Lorander perfected the elemental airship, revolutionizing travel and warfare. House Orion expanded its network of lightning rails, magical trains connecting the warring nations. Picture magical airships clashing above trench lines, tireless warforged on the ground. A unique magical industrial battlefield.
Magitech warfare. Did it get darker?
It did in Carnath. Beset by plagues and famine, King Caius I made a desperate choice. He turned to the necromantic faith of the Blood of Vol and the Order of the Emerald Claw, bolstering his armies with legions of undead soldiers.
Undead armies.
Yikes. This horrified the other nations and ensured the war would continue with even greater ferocity and moral complexity. It introduced a terrifying new dimension to the conflict.
So how did this 100-year war finally end? Did someone win?
No. After 100 years, the last war ended not with victory or defeat, but in a moment of inexplicable horror. The Day of Mourning.
The Day of Mourning. 994 YK.
On the 20th day of Olaroon, 994 YK, the nation of Sire, the cultural and geographic heart of the former kingdom, was instantaneously and utterly annihilated.
Annihilated? How?
A wave of dead gray mist erupted from the heart of the nation and swept to its borders, then just stopped. Everything within the mist was transformed or destroyed. The land became a twisted, magically warped wasteland where the laws of nature no longer applied. Imagine the silence of a once vibrant nation, replaced by this eerie, twisted landscape, a monument to sudden apocalypse.
What happened to the people?
Millions of sirens, including their queen Danel, were killed, their souls trapped in a horrifying state between life and death, leaving only shadows and questions. This created the vast, lethal wasteland now called the Mournland.
And nobody knows what caused it.
To this day, no one knows. Was it a siren superweapon gone wrong? Retaliation? An ancient demon? The cumulative effect of a century of arcane warfare. This enduring mystery is central to Eberron's current state.
So the Mourning stopped the war.
The sheer terror of it did. Fearing continued conflict could cause the Mourning to expand, the other nations met and signed the Treaty of Thronehold in 996 YK, officially ending the last war. It was a forced, uneasy peace.
So the Day of Mourning is a narrative device.
A deliberate one, yes. It preserves the core conflict in suspended animation. It allows Eberron to be a post-war setting ripe for espionage, political intrigue, noir-style adventure, while keeping the threat of renewed apocalyptic war ever present. The Mournland itself becomes the ultimate dungeon, a recently civilized high magic nation filled with treasures and horrors, its secrets waiting to be discovered.
Okay, let's unpack this. A century of war, then poof, an entire nation vanishes. It's the ultimate cliffhanger for an entire world, and it means the biggest mystery in Eberron is still out there, waiting to be solved.
Exactly. It's a powerful hook for adventures. Now, beyond the material plane worlds, there are settings whose very existence is tied to the broader cosmology. Their histories aren't measured in moral calendars, but in the shifting philosophies and eternal conflicts of the planes themselves.
Like Planescape. Its history is all about Sigil, right?
Pretty much. The history of Planescape is essentially the history of Sigil, the City of Doors. Located atop the Infinite Spire at the center of the Outlands, Sigil is the Nexus, a city where any doorway with the proper key can be a portal to another plane. And it's ruled by the silent, bladed, utterly inscrutable Lady of Pain.
Someone who keeps gods out.
Right, maintaining its neutrality. The history of Sigil isn't one of dynasties, but a philosophical conflict between the factions' organizations dedicated to specific worldviews. The Harmonium, peace through conformity, the fated might makes right, and so on.
So they ran the city.
For centuries, they controlled Sigil's politics, until the Lady of Pain dramatically shattered their power in the faction war, leaving the city in this state of dynamic ideological chaos. Planescape's history is about the clash of ideas, reflecting its philosophical core.
Okay, what about Ravenloft? That's not really one place, is it?
Not at all. Ravenloft is a collection of isolated demiplanes, adrift in the insidious mists of the Shadowfell. Each of these domains of dread is a prison, crafted by the mysterious dark powers to torment a single, profoundly evil individual, a Dark Lord.
So the history is just horror stories.
It's a collection of tragic, gothic horror stories, yes. Each domain's history is the story of its Dark Lord's fall from grace and their eternal torment. The tale of Strahd von Zarovich and Barovia murdering his brother for love, the Lich Azalin Rex, whose quest for power cost him everything, Dr. Victra Mordenheim, whose obsession with creating life led to monstrosity.
Very personal kinds of hells.
Intensely personal, the internal torment of the Dark Lord creates the domain itself, reflecting their specific evil. Ravenloft explores themes of personal damnation, inevitable consequences, the corrupting nature of obsession, and the mists are always expanding, claiming new souls, signifying this never-ending cycle of torment.
Chilling. And Spelljammer again. Its history is just space exploration.
It encompasses the vast spaces between material plane worlds, classic version, phlogiston and crystal spheres, modern, astral sea and wild space systems. Its history is one of exploration, piracy, trade, and imperial conflict between the great spacefaring races.
Who are the big players?
You had the elegant elven imperial navy with their living tree-like ships, the brutal insectoid Neogi slavers, the mercantile arcane traders, the vast rapacious Illithid empire always seeking to expand and, well, eat brains.
Find flares in space.
Right.
Picture living elven ships soaring through the vacuum, battling grotesque mind flayer vessels, rogue pirates raiding merchant convoys between Kryn space, realm space, gray space, battling astral dreadnoughts. It's a history written in spelljamming logbooks. It opens D&D up to literal space opera, adding a layer of cosmic adventure beyond traditional fantasy.
So looking back at everything we've covered, it's a lot. Stepping back for a moment, what really stands out is that D&D's lore isn't a static monument. It's a living, breathing, sometimes contradictory tapestry. The Great Wheel provides that overarching framework, allowing for countless diverse worlds to coexist and interact.
And we've seen this recurring pattern. These world-shattering cataclysms aren't just cool story moments. They're often deliberate narrative devices to justify major shifts between game editions, from the Time of Troubles to the Spell Plague and the Second Sundering.
It's a bold design choice, definitely. Keeps the game fresh, even if it occasionally sparks debate among longtime players.
But it seems like through all these upheavals, each setting keeps its core thematic consistency.
I think so, yeah. The Forgotten Realms remains defined by its gods and their meddling, faith-dependent relationship with mortals. Dragonlance keeps exploring themes of hope and faith in a world abandoned by divinity. Greyhawk persists as that landscape of fractured politics and ancient rivalries. And Eberron is still defined by its post-war tension and that central, enduring mystery of the morning.
So what does this all mean then? It means the history of D&D isn't just about fictional worlds. It's kind of a chronicle of how fantasy storytelling and game design itself have evolved over time.
That's a great way to put it. It's a grand narrative told by dozens of authors over decades, constantly being revised, expanded, and reimagined. It proves that even a fictional reality can be as dynamic and complex as our own.
Which leads to maybe a final thought.
This raises an important question for you, the listener. If the very fabric of reality, even in a fictional multiverse, can be so profoundly shaped and reshaped by events and even by design choices, what does that imply about the stories we tell and the realities we perceive in our own world? How much of what we accept as fixed is, in fact, fluid and subject to change, or even subject to the narratives we construct around it?
An intriguing thought indeed. Well, we hope this deep dive into the D&D multiverse has given you a newfound appreciation for its incredible complexity and dynamism.
We encourage you to explore these rich histories further. Maybe pick up a new adventure module, read some of the novels.
And keep diving deep into what truly fascinates you. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.